Hi, welcome to Tranquil.
From the moment you arrive, you're in a place where you're seen, valued, and supported.
We listen first because every story, every detail matters.
This is your space where your story is honored and your journey respected.
We provide care and comfort around the clock so you can truly rest and recover.
Wellness is balance, mind, body, and spirit. And sometimes, joy itself is the best therapy.
Creativity gives a voice to what words cannot express.
Where needed, we combine therapy and evidence-based medical care, all personalized to you.
In every test, we ensure accuracy because your wellness deserves no less.
Here, every prescription is not just medicine, but it is part of your healing journey.
Nourishment is healing too. Every plate is designed to restore your body, mind, and spirit.
Behind the scenes, our teams work together to uphold the highest standards of care.
Healing doesn't have to be lonely. Together, we can grow stronger.
Karibu Tranquil.
Hello, dear viewer. Welcome for an exclusive interview with me, Maureen Kimani, right here on Capuchin TV, as we bring you a very interesting conversation that touches each and every one of us, that is breaking the silence, everyday mental health. And again, just to give you an overview about mental health, it's not just about mental illness, it's about how we think, feel with life's challenges and relate to those around us, just like our physical health. Our mental well-being deserves care, attention, and compassion. So join us and do stick around as we unpack this conversation. Why mental health is a conversation that we need to talk, not only just a monthly conversation, but everyday conversation. Why is it so vital for one to have a good mental well-being? And joining me for this conversation, we have a representative from Tranquil Med Center here in Karen, and he will be telling us more about the facility and about the conversation. So welcome. Do not hesitate to reach out to us in case you have any question on 0717-424-866, or you can use the SMS number that is 21760. Just send us your question, your feedback about our conversation, and we'll be reading as we continue with our talk. So karibu sana, Victor.
Thank you very much, Maureen, for having me. I'm very delighted to be here.
Thank you for making time to.
Yes, thank you.
Because it's our first time we're having you in a conversation today, could you kindly tell the viewers more about yourself and of course about the facility itself?
Okay, so hello everyone, my name is Victor Kibuga. I am a clinical psychologist at Tranquil Med Center at Karen. Basically, Tranquil Med Center is a mental health hospital. We focus on all mental health aspects, basically from psychiatry to psychology and every other thing that encompasses mental health. We are located at Karen, as I said earlier, along Mamba Village, Gituro Lane, Gate 10. That's where you find us, and we offer a huge area of services at our facility. Yes.
And how long have you been in existence?
Okay, so Tranquil has been in existence from 2020, back in the COVID times to this particular time, 2026, so that's approximately 6 years. Yes.
All right. Let's start by having this conversation, because I understand that we shall be talking about the myths. We shall be also discussing the common warning signs that people should pay attention to. I don't think that people understand how mental health is a huge topic and a huge conversation in today's life. And even the past years, it's only that people didn't have an idea it's all about mental health.
Right.
So break it down for us. What is mental health and why is it important for us to talk about mental health, especially today?
Right.
And again, just to take you back, the last month we've been celebrating and of course creating awareness on men's mental health. But again, as I was having a discussion with you before we began the show, until we hit the 31st of June, we have not had anyone talking about men's mental health awareness. The conversation ended there. Tell us more about this mental health.
Okay, so thank you for the question. It's a very good question because many times, as you said, not many people understand what mental health is. For the longest time, people have thought mental health is when someone is going mad. And that's the stereotype that people have about mental health, which leads them not to actually focus on the problem at hand because it's actually an emerging problem. And of course, as you said, last month being Men's Mental Health Month, not many people actually knew about it, especially now that you mentioned men. Many times men are overlooked in this conversation about mental health, and mostly it's because of, I think, the ignorance around mental health. There's no proper education or structures that have been set to educate people about what it is, and especially men who barely talk about their issues. So again, that's a conversation that's very important that we need to have. And as opposed to having just 1 month, I'd suggest let every month be a mental health month for everybody, not just the men, the women, the teenagers, the children. Everybody is part of this conversation. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And why is it so important to ensure that your mental well-being is catered for?
Right. So I'll use a very good analogy about the mind. The mind is basically the processor or the CPU of the body. And I tell people when your body is sick, your mind tells your body it is unwell. But then think about when your mind is sick, there's no capability, there's nothing to tell the mind that it is sick. And so mental health is very important because it encompasses not just your psychological well-being, it also encompasses your emotional well-being and your social well-being. So all these three things are very important when it comes to mental health. If your mental health is not balanced or is not in the right state, then it means you'll suffer psychologically, emotionally, and of course socially, which is part of your physical well-being. Mm-hmm. So that's why mental health is actually very, very important. Mm-hmm. Yes.
And again, just to break it down, how do you tell a person's mental health is not okay? When you look at a person, perhaps when you look at me, can you tell this person is okay and this person is not okay, depending on how they're behaving?
Well, there are indicators to show that someone could actually be in a bad state of mental health. Well, ideally, there are traditional ways that used to establish someone is not okay. But then lately people are something we call in psychology masking. People have become so good at masking or pretending that things are okay. So nowadays it's not very outright or straightforward that you can look at someone and say they're not okay because people are trying to smile their best, people are trying to be in their best mood. Mm-hmm. And sometimes I know you've heard about someone that you maybe have heard about or a friend, and they'll tell you that I was with a colleague who seemed very happy, very excited, but then unfortunately they died by suicide, for example. And people ask themselves the question, did it happen overnight? What changed during the few hours that we were not together? But then I tell people it's not those few hours. Actually, if you observe closely, you realize that there are patterns or indicators that can tell someone is actually suffering. Mm-hmm. For example, the first states that you can actually tell someone is not going through, a good opportunity or time within their season in their life. They may start to be withdrawn, right? So you find somebody who was usually very social, very energetic, very talkative. All of a sudden they try to withdraw. And sometimes you may not actually notice because maybe you think they are just too busy or life has become, there's a lot in the economy that's happening. And so you may not even realize that they're withdrawn. So that's one of the key indicators that you can realize. Number two, you start to realize that people are switching from their actual behavior. For example, somebody who used to be very polite or very calm, they may start to become irritable. So you find you're trying to talk to somebody and they are like, don't bother me, I'm busy, I don't want to talk about this conversation. It could also come out physically. You could see their emotions are not in their right state. You could see they are probably, very tired physically. So there are many indicators that you can actually look at and tell. But then if you don't look at it very closely, you may actually miss some of these things. Mm-hmm. And that's where now education needs to come in for people to know what do I look out for. Mm-hmm. Yes.
All right. And how long should you pay attention to someone just to observe how long they've been behaving in a certain way?
Right. So usually from one mental health case to another, it actually depends. because how frequently are you interacting with this particular person? If it's somebody that you're seeing every day, means you're able to notice these things sooner. If it's somebody that you see once in a while, you may not even be able to realize. And sometimes you have friends or people, folks who are away, and you maybe talk on phone, so it may be very difficult to actually notice. So I tell people, try to check on other people as frequently as you can. As much as you could be busy, engaged in other things, at least every week try to check on somebody, and you try to figure out if they're actually okay, and you realize that you find that people are not actually okay as they say. Yeah.
Okay. And again, we've heard maybe some people say that you cannot define mental health. I mean, it's very difficult to define mental health because sometimes you may be stressed out, and sometimes people confuse mental health issues and stress. Right. How can you differentiate between the two?
Okay, that's a very good question, which I get all the time. So how do I know that I'm actually in a bad place when it comes to mental health? So stress is a normal part of life. Every day there is something that is going to happen that is not within your expectation or within your control, which is going to stress you out. I tell people stress is your body's reaction to things that, basically are out of your control, or things that are actually bombarding you at a particular time. So for example, going to work is already a stressor, waking up, beating Nairobi traffic, that gives you a lot of stress. For example, if your salary is late, that is a stressor. Your landlord is on the door, that's a stress. There are many things that can stress you, and that's part of life. But then when these things are, solved, and you're able to return back to a normal state, then that's just normal stress. So it's just a matter of finding a solution for it. But then you realize when now mental health challenges come in is when now, even as you're trying to cope with some of these challenges, you realize that even your ability to cope is inhibited, and you find that this stress is continuous for a long duration of time. Now that's when you start to say, something's actually wrong, I need to seek some attention or some help. Yeah. Okay.
And again, I think we shall be giving an example with men. You find there is the stereotypes in the society that men are not supposed to cry. So they're not supposed to show emotions when they are having the mental breakdown. I don't know if you've ever come across yourself about it.
When I'm seeing my clients, they tell you how their background looks like. And this is such an African thing. If you go to the Western world, people are able to express themselves freely. And partly I can, blame our culture. Not that culture is bad, but then there are aspects of culture that have inhibited us from moving forward. Men have been raised to be strong people, to be lions, don't cry, don't be afraid. Look at a girl, how they are pampered and how they are nurtured. When a boy is, nurtured like that, they say you're spoiling him, he's not going to become a man. But then being a man does not mean you are separate from your emotions. As a man, in fact, a man is a person who is able to identify with their emotions, express their emotions in a healthy way, and cope with their emotions. So ideally, when a man cries, it's a good thing, you should cry. But then it doesn't mean as a man you cry all the time. Men are expected to find solutions for things. But then if you're overwhelmed, it's okay to cry. It helps you, relieve the stress. It helps you, cope with what you're actually going through. So crying is healthy, and encouragement, please, if you need to cry, cry. It's good, but then don't cry all the time. Yeah.
It's not like the women who steps outside and just starts screaming out of nothing.
Absolutely.
Okay, all right. I mean, let's take a look on our country's situation right now. A lot is going on. We have, just the other day, we had the Utumishi fire breakout at Utumishi Girls. Take a look, the Gunism, Mandamano, just the other day. We have abductions in our country. I mean, even when you're walking on the road, you have fear something may happen to you. I don't know how do we go about this as a country, if there's a problem, because sometimes if you take a look, even the breaking ins of people stealing other people's property, it's because they have issues. True. How do you go about this? And how do you tell this person is suffering, not because of money issues or stress, but mental illness?
That's a very tough conversation that I believe it's the right time for as a country to have, because everywhere you go, everybody's stressed out, from the children to the teens to the middle-aged people to the old people. I don't know if you've experienced this. You try to say hi to somebody on the street and they look at you as if, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? You know, and you find people doing all manner of ridiculous things on the street. And that's a huge indicator in the country that things are not actually okay when it comes to our mental health. Because I think as a country, we've learned to cope by, just avoiding problems. I believe we've normalized the abnormal, which is actually not true. I hear many people say after the COVID-19 pandemic, things have not been the same. Maybe that's when we started to see these things, because I believe it's been there. From 2020, people were able to come together by force. Of course, not everybody wanted to be there. The quarantine allowed people to interact. You're confined within your space with your family. The things that you've been hiding or suppressing now start to come out. So a lot of anger, a lot of anxiety, a lot of resentment. And of course, people are very, very irritable at this particular point in time. So as a country, I believe this is something that we need to take note of. And anyone out there that you have noticed, a family member, a friend, or even yourself, you feel like you're just overwhelmed, seek for help. Try to talk to somebody, especially a professional, not just anybody on the street. And of course, lately you have a lot of professionals here, but then it's important that you know who you're talking to, so that way you're able to share. We say that a problem shared is a problem half solved. So that's where we begin, acknowledging that there is a problem, and then from there now we can start the conversation and just try to see how the solutions can actually come about. Yes.
All right. And I don't know if you have ever come across from your patients and from your expertise side of it, because sometimes you find a person loses a family member, and by the time they're grieving about it, they turn into depression. But again, the society, when they come to visit you and see how you're coping up with the situation, they'll tell you, you'll be okay. So most of the times, many people don't seek help. How do you find grieving as a mental health, perhaps illness, because most of the times they find themselves in depression. They start taking medicine. Sometimes you have a headache, you take medicine, you just treat yourself by over-the-counter medication, and you don't seek help from the expert side. For example, coming to your facility to talk to a person, to a counselor, to a psychologist. What happens?
Well, that's another very important question that you just asked. Because grief is processed differently by different people, depending on the background or even how close this particular person is. And grief is not just the loss of somebody. It could be the loss of a job, the loss of a relationship, the loss of a partnership. So all that, we categorize it as grief. And it actually categorized in the Statistical and Diagnostics Manual 5, which you use for diagnosis, as a mental health issue and as a mental disorder. This is when somebody is not able to move past the loss, right? And you find that many people actually try to put it inside. When it comes to grief, there are 5 stages of grief. We label them DABDA, depression, anger, bargaining, what's the other one? The first one is denial, and then the second is depression, and then now acceptance. So these stages are not linear. You find that sometimes somebody will go through the denial part and then shortly accept, but then go back to the bargaining or the depression part of it. So again, it's just being able to process it in a healthy way. That's what usually lacks for many people, because now grief happens, a loss happens, you're thinking about it, you don't know how to talk about it, and of course with the many things around you, you may not be able to pay attention to what is actually happening. So once you are able to understand that this thing is not linear, you give yourself some grace, some time, you talk to a professional about it, and then you start to accept slowly, because again, it's not something that happens immediately. There are people able to accept it immediately and they move forward, but there are people who cycle back every other day. So again, it's something that needs awareness so that somebody is able to deal with it in the right way. Yes.
Okay, and once you feel your mental health is not well and you're not okay, sometimes I think it's very important for us to pay attention to ourselves, because some people and your friends might recognize, hey, Maureen, you're not okay. The way you're doing your stuff nowadays, something is not okay. But then we don't tend to listen to the voices from our friends. We're so occupied in ourselves. Sometimes we don't even recognize, oh, by the way, my friend said I'm not okay.
Right.
So how do we evaluate ourselves?
That reminds me of a concept in psychology known as the Johari window, which is basically a window format where it has 4 spaces. The first part is where you know about something that you know about yourself, or things that you know about yourself that others don't know about. And I'm sure as Maureen, there are many things or secrets that you have about yourself that not many people know. In fact, nobody else knows about, right? There's another section where things that you don't know about yourself, but other people know about. And so that's where people tell you, you're like this, maybe you're could be good things, could be negative things. Sometimes you tell somebody, you yell every time you talk to people, you do this and do that. And many times you're not able to accept it. And then there's a part where you're constantly learning about things that are new every day. So you keep discovering things about yourself. And then the other part is things that you know about yourself and other people know about you. So they tell you, Maureen, you are like this. And you actually, I know I'm talented. I'm a talented presenter. So those are basically what sum up the Johari window. So yes, it's very possible that other people can see that you have problems or there are things that you're struggling with that you may not be able to see. So again, it calls for self-awareness. When you acknowledge that I'm not 100%, that I can make mistakes, that I'm a work in progress, and so being able to actually be humble enough to accept what people tell me. Sometimes people will tell you things that are not true, but then being able to sit with yourself and evaluate. When somebody said that I made them feel like this, is it really true? Sit down, learn about yourself, and you realize that with time, you're able to understand that, these people are actually right, and I need to do something about it. So self-awareness is the first thing, and then humility to accept, because again, let me say, even Africans, we're very egoistic. Even if I know I'm wrong, I will not accept. So it comes a lot from the self-awareness aspect.
Okay.
Yeah.
And again, let's talk about childhood traumas, because I think we all have gone through something, upbringing. But then you find you may have a situation that you came across when you were a child, but then once you grow up, it keeps on disturbing you, but then you don't seek help. How do we deal with our childhood traumas, first of all? Because I think it also contributes to our mental well-being.
Yes. So childhood trauma, I'd say, is almost the major contributor of most mental health challenges. Because again, as I said, circumstances and issues of life are expected. But then the coping aspect of it is totally dependent on yourself. How have you been able to build resilience for things? So when it comes to childhood development, we talk about 2 aspects, the environment and the genetics. So that mental health challenges that could emanate from your genetics. The way you'd have diabetes, you may have other issues in the body. You may also have mental health challenges like depression passed up, from the parent to the offspring. Number 2 is the environment, which shapes you, where you've been nurtured, where have you grown up, what kind of parents. Were your parents loving? Were they present? Were they disciplinarians to a point where they beat you enough, you wanted to run away from home? So all these factors actually influence the way somebody grows up and how they're able to cope with mental health challenges. And so as you said, it's very possible to work on your childhood traumas. The discoverer of the concept, it's called the psychoanalytic theory of development by one Sigmund Freud. That's basically where we draw that reference from. And he talks about unfinished business, where if there are things in your childhood that were not dealt with or you're not able to process, they'll obviously affect you in your adulthood. So when you understand this concept, you're able to actually sit down and process those things, look back and see, where was I hurt as a child? What did my mother say that remains with me to this very present day? What did my father do? What did my teacher do? What are the things that I witnessed? Maybe I witnessed something very gruesome and I've not been able to process it. Now that's where healing starts. But then again, you need guided, direction from a professional to help you actually know how to go about it step by step. Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. I'm loving this conversation. And I think I had talked about some of the stereotypes that we face in today's world and in our society, especially that you mentioned African, to be specific. We've seen and had so many conversations going through about mental health.
Yes.
What are some of the myths that you've come across about? Because first of all, people think mental health once you, okay, perhaps it might be some witchcraft from the society. So someone made, they say juju, they did a juju on you and you just went mad. Sometimes you find people say if you study a lot, your brain will go crazy. So what are some other stereotypes that you've heard about this conversation that you want to clear about to our viewers?
Okay. The first one is actually what you mentioned. That is basically out there. I feel like once you're born, it's something is put in you that, you know, when you see somebody behaving like this, they are bewitched or they are cursed, which is not very true, because Africans, of course, we build a lot of our cultures are built a lot in instilling fear sometimes. So for people to be able to continue in a certain path, their fear is instilled by that. And so I'd like to tell people that's not true. Mental health issues are not, you're not being bewitched, you're not being cursed. It's a normal sickness like the way you'd have a common cold or any other sickness. So that's one of the first myths and stereotypes that I've had. Number two is people who talk about mental health make it worse. I've heard that a lot. When you talk about your issues, people get to hear about it. They'll see you differently. You're going to be, not going to get any. You're going to be judged, and I hear that a lot, which is not very true. Because again, the moment you speak out, you create an opportunity to be heard. As much as you may have had a bad experience, maybe you saw somebody, or you probably tried to speak out at some point. It's very important to speak out. It's psychologically healing to speak out. Another stereotype or myth that I've had is mental health challenges only affect the poor people. So I've heard that a lot, that these things are, you are stressed because you don't have money. You have depression because you don't have money. But I would like to tell people everybody is affected by mental health challenges, whether you're rich or poor. It's not a class thing. It's basically every human. As much as you have blood flowing within you, there's a opportunity or capacity for you to actually have mental health challenges. So that, among many other stereotypes that I hear every other day, and especially in the African context, that this it's a westernized thing. You Africans, you're just exaggerating, and especially the exaggerating part, that people who have mental health challenges are trying to seek for attention or trying to put themselves out there to be, people to have sympathy on them, which is not true, because these things are real. We deal with them every day. We see people, and it can affect you and me as well. So it's not something that is far-fetched. It's actually very true. Yes.
And still on that conversation, something I've maybe come to see from the society is when you find maybe a parent has a child who has mental health issues, they tend to close them up in a room, not exposing them to the world and to other family members. How can that affect one's mental health? And again, can it be worse? Because sometimes, enclosing someone in a room, when you have so many thoughts going around you, it can even make you go crazy. How damage do they cause to these children and to even these elders? Because sometimes you find they began when they were very little, but once they grow up, they still have the same treatment from their family members and from their parents.
I'd say it causes catastrophic damage, because the moment you lock up a child, we call them developmental milestones. Some of these sicknesses or mental health challenges affect the developmental aspect of a child, So things like autism, for example. You find that because of the stigma in the society about such conditions like autism, the parent feels ashamed. What will the community think? They'll think maybe I'm bewitched. They'll think maybe I committed a sin and my ancestors are out to punish me, or God is not pleased with me. And so they take it upon themselves to lock this child up. And you remember you're punishing this child for a mistake that was not theirs, And so it comes again back to having a conversation about making mental health issues a conversation that's very important. telling people that mental health issues can affect anybody and everybody. And so as you are saying, how much damage, this child grows up traumatized because, again, they're not even able to express themselves. We call them, for example, autism has a spectrum. It's called ASD, Autism Spectrum Disorder. It's a spectrum where now, depending on the severity, so somebody could be very, let me say, could be severe on the spectrum of autism, and somebody could have mild autism, and which is very functional. So you find that if you're looking up this child, they're not able to communicate, for example, they're not able to socialize with people. This affects them. And in psychology, you say that humans are social beings. So the moment you deny this person their right to express themselves, first of all, you're violating their rights. Secondly, you are denying them the opportunity to become even better, because these conditions actually are, it's possible to improve with time, yeah? So it causes a lot of damage because this child grows up thinking they're not loved, they're hated, they're animals. And you find many of them don't even make it to many years because of the conditions that they're kept in. So it's such a bad and unfortunate occurrence that people need to actually know and be educated about. Yes.
Okay, and that takes us to the support system. How can families and society support the parents who have such kind of kids? There is for example, that you've given out, the autism kids they have in the families. What can we do? Because I think it's a huge conversation for also the religious men and women in the society that we can have from the churches, from our chamas, from maybe our hotels that we can have. For example, nowadays you find people preaching in a matatu. So I think we can also have people amplifying this conversation about mental health. So how can we support the people who are concerned in this conversation by supporting them morally, spiritually, and physically, by walking with them through this journey? How do you go about it?
So I'd say the first thing starts with educating ourselves. So if I'm going to help somebody with a challenge, I need to understand what that challenge looks like. I need to be empathetic enough to put myself in their shoes. So when I tell people, maybe find resources to learn about some of these conditions. There are many conditions like bipolar, schizophrenia, and many others which are widely misunderstood. So if I take my time as a person who doesn't understand what this is, read, because there's a lot of resources out there. There's YouTube, there's Google, there's AI. You can do a lot of research. In fact, you can learn a lot from AI than you could have learned even from YouTube many years ago, a couple of years ago. So it starts with first educating yourself about what these conditions are like. Then I'm able to gain capacity to help someone else. Number two is creating a conducive environment, which means I'm not a person who is judgmental. So for example, if somebody shares with me that they are depressed, how do I react to that information? Do I go out and tell other people? Do I handle it with care? Do I spread rumors about this person? At least I should be able to create a safe space for other people to be able to, express themselves around me. Number three is also creating resources around mental health. So this would look like, you talked about matatus, where you can find groups of young people who can mobilize themselves to take it upon themselves to spread this gospel of mental health. Find facilities like ourselves, which we actually, every Sunday we offer addiction support programs where people come and talk about addiction and so on and so forth. So such opportunities where we can actually create it and take it as become ambassadors of this information could be a long way in getting to support some of these individuals. And maybe probably apart from gaining information is also working on our character as well, because personally, if I'm a person who inflicts pain on other people, we say in psychology that hurt people hurt other people. So if I'm going to be a good support system, I need to also work on myself, work on my character. How do I react to other people? How do I treat other people? And then once I'm able to do that, I believe that is a place to start as far as support is concerned. Yes.
And I love that you mentioned about addiction. When you look up our Gen Zs nowadays, the technology have really advanced. Right. Whatever we're watching in our smartphone, we're watching in our screen, it can either damage or build you. How do we try to minimize or maximize about the technology nowadays? Because I feel there might be connection about our mental health and the technology bit of it, because whatever we watch, the movies we watch, it can either, it can actually affect you in a different way, because all of us consume information in a very different way. Absolutely. Yeah, so how does technology play a role in mental well-being?
A huge role, in fact, because technology is both a good thing and a bad thing, especially in our present age. There's something called social media addiction, or even technology addiction for that matter. What happens, if you realize how things are done on social media nowadays, you realize they are very short, entertaining videos. This is very deliberate because it hooks you. You'd find people nowadays are not able to sit through even a whole movie, 1 hour, 30 minutes or 2 hours, because you want to see the plot and you want to experience it and finish and go to the next. And so that's an addictive pattern because it raises your dopamine levels. Dopamine is that quick rush of happiness or joy, and it gives you instant gratification. So the moment you're constantly used to this, every time I open TikTok, I see a video, I go to the next, I go to the next, I go to the next. I'm training my mind to be addicted to this content. And so it's affecting both young people and even older people now, because you find people, older women and men, constantly on their phone, on Facebook, on TikTok, or on WhatsApp, just trying to find out what's happening. And that's such a danger because, again, if you get addicted to it, it becomes less beneficial. So yes, there needs to be a balance between how we manage social media and also just finding time to be outside technology, go out in nature, walk. We say touch grass, you know, just go outside and explore nature and just feel the nature. Put your phone away for some hours. There are people who walk with a phone and a power bank and another power bank for the power bank, you know, so that you're online the whole time. So go off the grid for some time. I believe it helps your mind to think better, right? So technology is both good because you get to learn from it, but then it can also be addictive and it's affecting even children. You see children, everybody has an iPad. Right? Children are not able to play until they have, you know, Teletubbies or something played. That's not a good thing. In fact, it builds susceptibility for conditions like ADHD, where a child is hooked and they become very impulsive and become very angry. So you take away this device and the child has a tantrum. They want to beat you up. They want to shout and scream. That's a dangerous pattern. So it's something that we need to curb and control. Yes.
And the cocomelon.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we've been able to talk about the introduction bit of the mental health and some of the signs that people need to watch out. And we have mentioned about the support, but something that we need to understand when one walks into your facility to seek help, to come in to talk to your psychologist there, to your counselors there about their mental health issues, what happens? Can you take us through about it?
So basically, the moment you check in to a facility, you'll be ushered by the reception, basically to get to know what nature of help do you need. As you said, we have psychiatric help, we have psychological help. We also have other tests that can be done basically in a normal hospital, but then our priority is the mental health aspect. So once you come and basically able to communicate the service that you need, they're able to queue you in our system. We take most insurances. So if you have insurance, it's actually good because many people say that mental health is not affordable. But then if you have an insurance cover, it's good also again to inquire what it covers. But most insurances, which is actually a good progress in mental health, are able to support psychological support and of course psychiatric assessments. So once you're able to tell us what you're paying with, maybe insurance or cash, you are queued in and then you are allowed to see the person that you want to see. So it's such an easy process. Just come, what service do you need? I need a psychiatrist. They queue in, it's insurance, you get to pay, it's cash you pay, and you wait for your service. And it's such an easy process.
Okay,
yes.
And something I know our viewers are asking themselves, are you open every day? Do you have inpatient? Do you have outpatient? So I think you can clarify about that.
All right, so our facility supports both inpatient and outpatients. We have inpatient services, so basically where you can come and just relax. We call it, it's more of a holiday retreat. That's what I tell people. It's such a serene environment. We have all forms of therapy. We have art therapy, group therapy, occupational therapy. We have massage, we have games. So it's such a serene space. In fact, people come there just to relax. You say, I've had a stressful week. And because people are learning a lot about mental health, I don't need to be sick or unable to do things to check in myself into a facility. I can just come to relax over the weekend. And that's something most people actually get to do. And so, yes, we also have outpatient services. Just come for a daily visit. We are open from Monday to Sunday. Between 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So anytime between those times you can come check in. If it's an emergency service where you feel this person needs to be admitted or you need help, you're not locked out. You can actually come in and you'll be attended to. Yes.
All right. And I love the fact that you said you don't have to wait until you're sick.
Yes.
It's very important to take care of your mental well-being. For example, like women, we love ourselves. We have the pedicure, we have the manicure.
Right.
So what are some of the simple habits that we can promote to take care good of our mental well-being?
Okay.
That is both for men and for women.
Right.
And again, I think you can talk about the child a bit.
Okay.
Yeah. How can we support our children so that we don't expose themselves to the Teletubbies and the Cocomelon thing? Because you mentioned about the ADH. Yeah, how risky it is for a parent to even bring up your child in such an environment.
Okay, so I think I'll start with the child aspect part of it. So I tell people technology can help children, and children nowadays are very smart. I don't know if it's a thing that's going on genetically. There needs to be tests for that, but children are very smart. As early as 1.5, 2 years, you can realize this child is picking up on language, picking up on behavior, is reacting to things. So children are very, very smart. So as a parent, it's a matter of control. I advise parents, kids below 4 years old should not be given devices, right? And because again, you're not just affecting them mentally, even physically, their eyes. These devices have blue light, which can be, cause the child to have eyesight issues as they grow up. If you are to give them for school purposes, for example, 5 years and above is a safe place to start, but then it should be controlled and monitored. Nowadays, we have lock mechanisms on the phone or on the tablet, which you can actually enable maybe for 20 minutes. They can watch something, and you can actually train them to know that this is not something that you shouldn't be entitled to watch this. It's something that is for you to learn, and of course control what they are learning, not just watch everything, because there's a lot on social media that can also be very damaging. So that's a place to start. When it's controlled, the time is controlled, and it's strictly for educational purposes. So as they grow up, again, they have this discipline and they're not hooked to these devices. They can actually think for themselves. They can actually become very creative and discover things, On to the second question, which you asked, not waiting to be sick. Could you please clarify the question again?
Yeah. When can we just walk into your facility? Yes.
Right. So mental health should be like your daily, the way you brush your teeth every day, the way you go to get your hair done, the way you go to dentist appointment. It should be something that's scheduled in your calendar, at least a monthly basis. See a therapist, right? Because sometimes when these things pile up, you may not even realize it's happening. And I tell people, your mind operates in two dimensions. The first one is the conscious mind and the subconscious. So as we sit right here in this studio, your mind is has already picked up all this information in this studio, like the color, of the background, like the table and everything, even without your permission. So again, our brains are able to pick up this information. Could be trauma, could be stress, and sometimes it's accumulated and we don't know. And so if you do it the way you do for your monthly dental appointment or your hair appointments or the pedicure that you're talking about, if it's done regularly, it becomes something that is manageable. So you're not seeing it as a waste of money, as a waste of time. It's the way you service your car. Go do have the oil changed or the filter or whatever, So I encourage people to have it something scheduled, something that is continuous, And that way you don't wait until I'm very depressed or I'm very sick. That's when I realize, oh, I need to talk to somebody. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Victor, for shedding more light on our conversation today. That is breaking the silence, everyday mental health. And I'm sure our viewers have learned a lot about this conversation. And as we mentioned that it doesn't end here. So let's spread the gospel like we do. We talk about the Bible. Same case we do about mental health.
Absolutely.
And with that, we'll have a safe society and safe people. Exactly.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
So perhaps for that person who would like to visit your facility and they would like to reach out to you, maybe you can give out your number, how they can reach out to you.
All right. So you can reach me via email, which is victor.kibuga@tranquilmedcenter.com. Victor.kibuga, Kibuga, at Tranquil Med Center with a TRE.com. So you can email us. You could also go online and check our reception numbers. You'll have people who attend to you and you'll find the help that you need.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much, Victor, for sharing your knowledge and helping us understand better on this important topic. And we hope that today's discussion has encouraged you to prioritize your mental well-being and support others with kindness and compassion. My name is Maureen Kimani, and our guest has been Victor from Tranquil Med Center. He is a clinical psychologist. See you next time, and have a blessed day.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, welcome to Tranquil.
From the moment you arrive, you're in a place where you're seen, valued, and supported.
We listen first because every story, every detail matters.
This is your space where your story is honored and your journey respected.
We provide care and comfort around the clock so you can truly rest and recover.
Wellness is balance, mind, body, and spirit. And sometimes joy itself is the best therapy.
Creativity gives a voice to what words cannot express.
Where needed, we combine therapy and evidence-based medical care, all personalized to you.
In every test, we ensure accuracy because your wellness deserves no less.
Here, every prescription is not just medicine, but it is part of your healing journey.
Nourishment is healing too. Every plate is designed to restore your body, mind, and spirit.
Behind the scenes, our teams work together to uphold the highest standards of care.
Healing doesn't have to be lonely. Together, we can grow stronger.
Tranquil.